hello, this is Eamonn O'Brien, and you're so welcome to the Reluctant Speakers Club Expert Series. And coming up today, we're talking about getting past comfort zones, getting past anxieties, getting past fears, the things that maybe stop us from doing a great job when we're in front of an audience. And I am thrilled to have today as an expert on the other side of the Irish Sea, a fellow called Jules Munn. Now, if you don't know who Jules, he is one of the most amazing and giving instructors I've ever come across. I had the opportunity to work with him recently in Dublin, but he is the artistic director at the Nursery, which is the Centre for Improv. What would you say, improv, impropriety and excitement in
I just say improv. I try to avoid words like comedy and theatre because they involve a judgment on what's happening. So I just say improv.
But also, of course, you're the founder of Slapdash International and a member of the Maydays.
Hello, and thanks for having me here, Amy.
Yeah. So before we get cracking, maybe you'd give me a little bit of background on how you got into the whole improv side of things from your.
Sure. I was at drama school. I was at the Guildhall School, which is a very classically based drama school in the City of London, as in the city, in the financial district. So we used to walk past a whole bunch of people in suits going to their jobs in banks and law firms with our little bags full of practice skirts and all the period shoes and all that weird stuff. That's a very odd thing. We had improv classes as part of that course on a Friday morning with a guy called Ken Ray. And it was the classic Johnstonian philosophy of failure and risk and shared experience and all that kind of thing. And I could not cope with them. I was terrified of them. It wasn't that I disliked them. I really liked watching people do stuff, but I was absolutely petrified of being up there and doing it myself. And that would mean that the night before I would have to get drunk, or I would be unable to sleep, or it was a question of getting through these 2 hours on a Friday morning. And then there was a guy in the year below me who'd been at Oxford University before he came to Guildhall, and he started an improv group. And I thought, hey, this is an interesting part of my brain. How come I hate this so much? Well, not hate. How come I find this so challenging? I went along with the idea of improving my ability to cope in those kind of situations. And 6 or 7 years later, or whatever it is, something in that area, it's what I do with my life. So as I often say, my kind of standard flip turn of phrase is to say, I started improvising because I hated improvising. And now it's what I do.
Yeah. Well, and you were very, very good at it. Yeah. And well, if we kind of talk about the fear factor, you talked about being terrified before you had to kind of get up and be in front of people, and it kind of, if you like, feeling quite exposed in that. What is it that you think causes that level of fear and or dread? What was going through your head that was worrying you, and that you find now when you're helping people to do improv worries them?
Well, I think there's a variety of different sources for that fear. For me, I'd always been quite a bookish teenager, and then I went to university and did an English degree, the largest chunk of which is sitting by yourself, really carefully crafting an idea and putting it together and making the best essay that you can, or putting the idea together in order that you can talk in a seminar or with a tutor in a way which is instructive and interesting and useful, all that kind of thing. And I think that for me, stepping out of that place and into a space where it's not even will I be able to come up with something good without any preparation. It's will I be able to create anything? Will I be able to do anything in response to a set of stimuli that I'm given? And you see that I'm starting with improvisers all the time. Just something as simple as a word association. I say dog, you say ball. And you go, I say dog, and people absolutely pull a blank. And I think a lot of that is we sort of jump ahead to the point where we're already assessing whether the idea is going to be good or not.
Yes.
So we're trying to create the idea at the same time as criticizing or assessing the idea, which is using two entirely different parts of the brain and is therefore impossible. It's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. And that leads to that kind of brain paralysis, which to me, I get it, I'm lucky to say I get it rarer and rarer now, but to me feels a bit like when you ask too much of your computer and the screen just stops.
Yes.
And there's sort of there's nothing you can do, no matter what buttons you tap, no matter what input you give into it, nothing is going to come out. So I think it's that. I think it's about the terror that something won't be good, or equally dangerously, the absolute desire that something has to be good.
Yeah.
So it's all about these layers of judgment which we place on the top of experience. That dog, ball, that word association is not inherently good. It's not inherently bad. It just is a thing. Later, when we start to write something, we might try to assess whether this is funny or whether this is useful in terms of the narrative or whether it makes the point that we're trying to make in a speech. But in the unmediated improvisation moment, all we're looking to do is let the thing happen without any judgment. And that's very alien to us culturally, I think. So that was what was going on for me, I think. Jumping ahead, will it be good? Will it be anything?
Yeah, well, and that's a good way to do it, where, as you quite rightly say, we sometimes, it is about things happening where we're getting in our own way.
Yeah.
And we're prejudging in advance of how the audience might react to something. And then we think, oh, I need to do something with this that's somewhat different in order to make it sound more interesting. And there's so much in your head that all of a sudden, a self-fulfilling prophecy almost occurs, where you're saying, well, actually, the next thing is,
yeah,
I have no idea, and the audience isn't any help to you.
Well, I find it part of the part of the thing that you want to get used to when you're introducing to improvisation is shifting this combative attitude towards the audience. Because there's these I don't know much about public speaking, but I know there's the stereotype of, oh, if you're scared of giving a speech, imagine your audience naked.
Oh, never, not if I'm.
I think that's, those kind of stereotypes of, like, you have to impress the audience, you have to beat the audience, you have to conquer the space, you have to be in control. All those things are super unhelpful, because in the end, if you've got an audience watching a speech, watching a show, even in a class, watching something happening, they want to have a good time. They want to enjoy it. The odds are stacked in your favor in a way, well, not in a way, absolutely. You and the audience are on the same side, and that you want to have a pleasant experience here. You want to have a point of connection between the two of you, and you want to have something happen which couldn't happen if you just stayed at home and watched Netflix or read a book or something. You want something human to happen. And that feeling of trying to do something despite the audience or to the audience, or forcing that response is, I think, very I'm going to use the word dangerous. I was cautious about it, but I'm going to use the word dangerous.
To hell with caution. You're absolutely right that's exactly what happens. We're trying to impress the audience when that's absolutely the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Because the audience needs to be intimately involved in the experience, and it needs to be human experience, because otherwise they won't care.
Yeah. Otherwise, just go read a book.
Yeah.
Just go read an article.
Yeah. Send me a letter, exactly that. Well, so when you're dealing with people who are new to improv, and there is a good parallel between that and people who I deal with on a regular basis, what are the 2 or 3 things that you find most helpful, if you like, to just start to get that confidence flowing, where it's kind of changing perspective, and just, if you like, helping people to start to connect?
So I think the first thing I will say in nearly every intro to improv class is, you can't get this right and you can't get this wrong. Those things don't exist. They're just going to be an experience. A thing is going to happen. But let's let go of the obligation of making beautiful scenes or perfect jokes or wonderful stories. Let's just do the thing which happens right here. there's that line from If, isn't there? Meeting with triumph and disaster, and treating those two imposters just the same. At the point where you are trying to work out if something is going well or trying to work out if something is going badly, then you're not doing the thing itself. So that's a thing that I'll lean on, kind of just getting people to just do and not assess. And one of the ways that I will often do that, I'm a big fan of break. Can I swear? Is that allowed?
Sure.
Okay. Just only once or twice, but this is because this is what I call it. Mind fuck games or head fuck games.
Yes.
Which is a game which is calibrated to be slightly too complicated, or to use different parts of your brain in a way that you can't possibly get it right. And at the point where no one is getting it right and we're celebrating failure, I think I probably did this with you on the weekend I took in Dublin, where when something falls apart, you get to throw both hands in the air and either shout hooray or we fucked up, depending on whether you're in a sort of corporate or artistic context. When you're genuinely celebrating failure and allowing someone to fail over and over and over and over and over and over again, you start to realize that actually those judgments of failure or success are completely arbitrary and they don't matter. One of my best friends is a doctor. When he makes mistakes, people die. That is an independently verifiable descriptor of failure. Someone died because you did or didn't do something. When we make a mistake, okay, we'll pick ourselves up and we'll try again. So yeah, brain-breaking games. And the other end of that, which often looks a bit counterintuitive when put into the same class, is I'm a big fan of meditation and mindfulness, because it has the same effect, which is again to remove that metacognition, to remove that assessment of goodness or badness, and just go, all right, I'm just going to put my focus on my breathing. What is happening to my breathing right now? Not am I breathing well or badly? Am I breathing deeply or lightly? Am I breathing fast or slow? Simply, can I get to a point where I'm placing the focus of my brain simply on the raw data of what it is that my body is doing right now? And I mean, breathing is the simplest way to do it. You can do it with counting, you can do it with those kind of gnomic phrases, you can do it with mantras and all that kind of stuff. But it's removing all the symbolic mediation between, and I'm fully aware that it's ironic to be using a lot of complicated Latin vocabulary to talk about this, but it's removing all the symbolic mediation of good, bad, fun, interesting, funny, all of that stuff, and just being in direct contact with the data of with the ongoing flow of data, which is the experience of the human mind. And the weird thing to say about that is that I think meditation and improvisation are similar in a lot of ways, but the one that I find really interesting is that you could write all of the core truths of both of those things, for my money, on the back of a postcard, which doesn't in the slightest bit make them easy. You need to return and return and return to retrain your mind and retrain your responses, and it's mind and body because there's no separation between the two. Now that Cartesian nonsense. To retrain your mind and your body to be able to do those things instinctively and more easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've forgotten your question, and that was a bit of a random walk through the kind of stuff I think about.
No, actually, and I've really enjoyed that. It's quite a journey, but I think actually because I was asking about things that kind of help to build up confidence, and what I took out of what you're saying, actually, whether it's kind of through meditation or through kind of the games that help you to realize that you can fail and that's all right, is so much of that revolves around the notion of giving yourself permission to be immersed in the experience and simply let the experience happen rather than control that. Because ultimately it's not yours to control. It's for the audience to get what they get out of it.
And I would say there's a stage further that it's not possible to control. We live in a society and a culture, and particularly a business culture, where we have this fantasy that if I'm a good enough manager and planner, and I've thought carefully enough about the resources which are available to me and all the possible contingencies of things which might go right and might go wrong, I might eventually create the perfect plan which will deal with any contingency. That to me it's just, firstly, it's naive, because it's never going to happen because the world is infinitely complicated and frustrating. And secondly, it's no fun. if you're trying to plan an event, or you're trying to plan any part of your experience to the point where you know exactly what it's going to be like, why have the experience? Why go and do that thing, right? It's like I was in Scotland recently, and my girlfriend and I were just, we had a camper van, and after my friend's wedding, we just drove around a little bit to find some pretty places. And one of the things that we very deliberately did was not look up what any of those pretty places might be, because if you've seen a picture of it, you've spoiled a part of the experience of being there. And actually, the full wonderful thing of arriving in a place that you've heard of, or just follow brown signs, you know, those brown English heritage signs, or whatever they are. Oh, there's a brown sign, let's follow the brown sign until we find a thing. And that way you get the completely unmediated, no expectation, no right or wrong experience of just going, oh, this is the thing which is happening right now. Whether you're just following the brown signs, you know, something interesting there, or because you're allowing yourself to be in a place where you're not expecting the planning to do anything for you. It's very freeing, I think, because there's not a set of how life should be, which you're constantly comparing yourself to.
Yeah, and interesting, that became then your experience.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me. And tell me, so if you think, though, about things that have helped you along the way. So if we think about you a number of years ago and saying, oh, sweet mother of divine, I have to do all of this, or whatever came to mind, or other terms or phrases, versus today, what was the single best piece of advice that you were ever given that helped you just to feel, I can do this?
Not exactly, this is not exactly advice, but this is a thing which I come back to constantly. Sorry, I'm not the chair, the computer moved a little bit. I was doing, as part of the drama school training course, we were sent to Italy with the students from about 4 or 5 other drama schools. Cool. And each of them would take classes with the teachers who weren't from their own drama school. And I ended up, by total accident of fate, and by something which I do quite a lot, which is placing myself in the path of most resistance, which is why I ended up doing improv, because I'm like, this is the hardest thing for me right now. I guess I'm going to follow that. So in this course, I ended up doing a course in cabaret singing, and I ain't no singer, and I certainly ain't no solo artist. I don't really enjoy being on stage by myself. I was taught by this incredible Catalan teacher called Jordi Munn. I'm sure I'm murdering the pronunciation. He didn't speak a word of English. Everything came through a translator. And at the end of every day, he would say, "Dimani al 10, Dimani al 10." Again, I'm sure I'm murdering the pronunciation, but it means tomorrow at 10. And I thought nothing of it for the 2 or so weeks that we were out there, because of course that's the time the course starts. We sign up for a course which starts at 10 and ends at 6, so we're going to be there at 10 every morning. He would tell us every day, but it's nothing. And on the last day, he gave this beautiful explanation of it, that Dimani alle 10, it doesn't mean I'll see you tomorrow at 10. It means whatever happened today, we just get up and we do it again. We had a wonderful time today, we get up and we do it again. We discovered a really new, interesting, fascinating thing, we get up and we do it together. We get up and we do it again. Today, we just didn't want to do any of the things which are supposed to be happening in the workshop, and we all hated each other, and basically we should have gone and had a nap instead. We get up at 10. And that feeling of repetition and persistence, and the fact that I don't improvise in order to make a shitload of money, because if I wanted to do that, I'd go back and work in the city, as I did for a while after graduating from drama school. I don't improvise because I want to be on TV or have a sitcom, as some people that I know do, and absolutely fair enough. I improvise because this is what I do, because this is part of me, because this is my identity as much, if not more, as any other thing which I do and am defined by. And that is, I mean, relating back to what you're saying about nervousness and self-confidence, at that point, I care less about whether I had a good show or a good class or something today, because it's just one of a million things. And whether it's wonderful, whether it's terrible, whatever the experience is, it'll revert to the mean. And on average, stuff will keep getting better and stuff will keep getting better. I'll be getting the things that I want out of it. Yeah, Dimani al 10 is a thing which I come back to over and over again, and which I'm pretty sure I talked about that weekend. So I I have my 4 or 5 arias, which I always sing, and I apologize if I'm repeating stuff which I said to you the weekend I was in Belgium.
No, well, actually, no, we didn't get into that particular one, but I like that. I like that notion, and perhaps actually that's a very fitting way in which kind of end our brief chat. And can I thank you for stepping in today, because that notion of giving yourself the permission to work on and recreate experiences and not getting het up on what happened before. It's a bit like in tennis. The ball that has gone past you cannot be hit again.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the stuff that you can't fix.
Yeah.
Think more about what can I do with the next one.
Yeah. Or what am I doing with this thing right now? I'm assuming that you've read The Inner Game of Tennis.
I have not. I'm an absolutely useless tennis player. I'm so bad, actually, that my wife kicked me out of my local tennis club because I used to play once a year, and it would upset her because I'd always win, only because I got the ball back. But no.
The Inner Game of Tennis is a fantastic book, and it's because you use a tennis metaphor, it seemed like it might be in reference to that book, which I think is really wonderful, which is everything that we've been talking about just living and experiencing the unmediated thing which is happening, rather than bothering too much about right or wrong or better or worse or any of that stuff. And it's a book about tennis, but it's also a book about, to me, improv, but also I think how to live well. I have a whole shelf of books which weren't written about improvisation, which as I read them, I was going through going, oh, that's about improv. Oh, that's about improv. Oh, that's about improv. So I forgot the name of the chap who wrote it. But yeah.
And that incidentally is true about most any stories that we experience. We can find all sorts of connection with it. But I guess, but on the tennis analogy, one of the things that I commonly say to folks about better speaking in general is that do not try to achieve perfection.
Right.
Is a complete and utter myth. There is no such thing as a perfect speech, because there's no such thing as a perfect audience.
Right.
You cannot and mustn't try to convince yourself of something. Rather, you want the audience to kind of come to their own determinations, if you like, of what they feel is important and what they might do with that. Now, obviously, you're guiding and you're helping from a speaking perspective as opposed to an improv, but it is still the same notion, which is that if you try to achieve perfection, like in market research, it is better to be approximately right than precisely wrong. You're putting yourself in the line of danger.
Absolutely. There's I can't remember who the quote is from, but there's that lovely quote about letting the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yes.
But this is not good enough. We haven't found the perfect answer. Well, yeah, but you fight with the armor you have. Let's enjoy this thing right now, and let's get what we can out of this thing right now, because perfection may also, like, who wants to achieve perfection? At the point where I find that I have been in an improv show or an improv scene which I consider to be perfect, and I'm going to put a gun in my mouth and because what else is there to do, right? That seems to be absurd, but yeah. All the cultural stuff around that, which we don't have time to get into.
Well, look, Jules, I knew that today would be an absolutely fascinating conversation, and indeed it was. And I think that there's all sorts of food for thought for folks to get from the few moments we spent today. And can I thank you, the viewers, for watching today. You've been listening to the Reluctant Speakers Club Expert Series. And in thanking Jules, I'm also going to thank you. And until the next time, here's to awesome speaking.